The stars had never looked so cold. Ambassador Alara Miles stood alone in the observation deck of Embassy 1, her reflection barely visible in the glass as Earth turned slowly beneath her, what remained of it. The pale blue orb was now scarred, a jagged burned line running from the Arctic Circle to the Himalayas. Once vibrant city lights had vanished. The cradle of humanity had been cracked open. A chime broke the silence. "Ambassador," came Lieutenant Aaron's voice, hesitant. "We've completed the atmospheric scans. Final casualty estimate is approaching." "Say the number," Alara said flatly. 4.2 billion, ma'am. Mostly northern hemisphere. Immediate loss. Infrastructure collapse is pushing projections higher." Silence. "Thank you, Lieutenant," she said, and disconnected. Her hands trembled briefly. She shoved them into her pockets. An hour ago, the encrypted burst had arrived, compressed video from Earth's last functioning orbital platform, barely surviving the blast radius. It showed the strikes in horrifying detail. Pillars of fire lanced down from orbit, wiping out entire cities with mathematical precision. No warnings. No demands. Just erasure. The Varelian Empire had denied involvement before the fires were out. A public statement had gone out across the galactic concord. "We condemn the attack on the human homeworld and pledge assistance in investigating this atrocity," they had said, voice dripping with feigned sympathy. Alara had known Vale Threx too long to believe it. He was too calm. She left the observation deck and entered the central briefing chamber. The surviving human delegation, 5 out of 20, sat in silence. General Rao, Minister Dahl, and her chief advisor, Marin Hollis, stood as she entered. "We've confirmed the trajectory signatures," Marin began, face pale. "The orbital platforms picked up incoming energy spikes 30 seconds before impact. They're consistent with Varelian stealth frigate drives." "Weapon type?" Alara asked. "Plasma lances, focused planetary grade. Origin unknown. No distress signals were received. They hit blind." General Rao leaned forward. "We've already submitted an emergency summons to the Concord Assembly. Emergency session convenes tomorrow. They'll want you to play it cool, Alara. Calm, diplomatic. No accusations without iron proof. They attacked Earth," she said quietly. "We can't prove it yet." Her eyes flicked to a holographic map of Earth. Red zones spread across continents like blood. Cities erased. Communications severed. The northern hemisphere no longer functioned. Even now, rescue drones scrambled from lunar colonies, but the numbers made the effort feel like placing sandbags before a tsunami. Alara took a breath. "Draft my speech. We're not asking for sympathy. We're demanding answers." Rao hesitated. "We can't win a war. I'm not declaring one. Not yet." He nodded grim. "Then I'll ready our delegation. Whatever this is, it isn't over." 12 hours later, Embassy 1 drifted into high orbit above Talcareth. Twin stars blazed white gold outside the sprawling station that housed the Concord Assembly. The great chamber, half the size of Manhattan, held hundreds of envoys, each surrounded by their own atmospheric containment fields. It was the heart of interstellar diplomacy, where centuries of peace had been negotiated in sterile grandeur. Alara entered under silent eyes. She wore no jewelry, no medals. Her long black coat was plain, unadorned. She stopped at the speaker's dais, the human flag, now stained by tragedy, displayed behind her. The Varelian delegation sat directly opposite, high in their crescent-shaped alcove, blue-scaled and impassive. Vale Threx sat at the center like a serpent on a throne. Alara's voice echoed across the chamber. "Fellow delegates, members of the Concord, I stand before you not as a politician, but as a daughter of Earth." A low murmur rolled across the floor. "Yesterday, our home was attacked. Not targeted in war. Not warned in anger. It was executed, by calculated orbital strikes that killed nearly half our population in less than 4 minutes. The destruction was silent, surgical, and absolute." She paused. No dramatics. No rage. Only the weight of truth. We have evidence, debris scans, energy readings, and flight logs. All point to a single origin, stealth-class Verelian tech. Not stolen. Not salvaged. Pure and military issue. A stir. Delegates turned toward the Verelians. Vale rose slowly, elegant as ever, and inclined his head. We grieve with humanity, he said. But we must caution restraint. The Verelian Empire does not recognize these accusations. There are separatist factions known to operate stolen vessels. If your people have suffered at their hands, we will assist in tracking them down. But to suggest imperial sanction is... Elara cut him off. You speak of restraint, Chancellor. You watched from your halls of crystal as we burned. He didn't flinch. I speak of evidence, Ambassador. Emotion clouds justice. Her eyes locked onto his, cold and unwavering. Then let us uncover the truth. Together. The Assembly Speaker intervened, voice metallic and precise. The Concord accepts humanity's request for a full investigation. A committee will be formed immediately. In the meantime, all members are to refrain from hostile action. Vale nodded slowly, eyes never leaving Elara. Of course. Back aboard Embassy 1, Marin collapsed into her chair. He's lying. Every word of it. He's laying bait, Elara replied. Trying to make us overreach. One wrong move and we're painted as unstable aggressors. What now? She stared out the viewport. Earth was just out of sight. We dig, Elara whispered. Every fragment, every signal, every trace. We exposed the lie. Rao stepped in from the bridge. We've just received a private ping. Unmarked. Origin point, Verelian core space. Marin raised an eyebrow. Dissident? Could be. Says they have proof. Elara turned. Her voice was steady now, controlled. Then we go deeper. They think we're broken. Let them believe it. She walked toward the briefing room again, boots echoing across steel. The stars watched us die. Now they'll watch us rise. The Concord assembly chamber shimmered with quiet menace. Rows of species, scaled, feathered, chitin-plated, and flesh, sat inside shimmering fields of breathable atmospheres. Each delegate hovered over a personal pedestal, forming a massive circle around the central platform where disputes were aired and history was carved. The air buzzed with tension, silent but volatile. Ambassador Elara Miles stood alone at the heart of it. Every eye was on her. Humanity mourns, she began, voice calm but sharp. We've suffered a blow meant to annihilate, not conquer, not deter, but erase. Yet we are here. And we bring evidence. A flick of her wrist activated the projection. A series of frames appeared, orbital telemetry, energy discharges, plasma residue, drive signatures. All collected by surviving stations and lunar nodes. This data aligns precisely with Verelian stealth-class warships. Down to the modulation codes. These aren't black market imitations. They are fleet-grade. Issued armed, and deployed by someone with clearance. Across the chamber, murmurs rose. Several species leaned forward in interest, others withdrew in unease. Vale Threx stood slowly. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. We understand the grief, he said. But grief can blind even the brightest minds. Humanity has grown fast. Brilliantly, yes, but dangerously, too. This speed comes at a cost: mistakes, instability, volatility. He turned toward Elara. We do not deny the weapon signatures. But stolen vessels are traded in the shadows. And shadows often birth lies. I urge the Assembly to proceed with caution before war is declared on suspicion alone. His words were honeyed. Elara knew the taste was poison. Delegate Ayar Nasha of the Thranari Confederacy shifted forward, her silver-hued crest flickering. And how many rogue groups possess the clearance to access Verelian core command protocols? Vale offered a thin smile. Pirates are more resourceful than we give them credit for. Elara didn't look away. And yet these resourceful pirates left no trace, no demands, no signature. They appeared, destroyed our planet's infrastructure, and vanished. This was no raid. This was sterilization. The assembly speaker raised a hand, bringing the session to pause. The investigation will proceed. A committee shall be assembled, representatives chosen. In the interim, no member state may engage in retaliatory or defensive military action without assembly consent. Gavel fell. Session adjourned. Back aboard Embassy 1, Marin slammed her data pad onto the table. He twisted it. Made us look unstable. And that passive-aggressive speech? He painted us as dangerous just for surviving. Elara leaned over the edge of the central console, rewatching the speech on silent replay. He's setting the narrative. Humans are emotional, too new, too fast. General Rao joined them. I've seen it before. Empires don't strike openly. They bait the target, make them lash out, then claim moral high ground. They want us to lose control, Elara muttered. To prove their point. A calm ping interrupted them. Unmarked frequency. Originating from inside the Talcarus system. Marin glanced at the encryption. Encrypted with Concord diplomatic keys. But not ours. Open it, Elara said. A grainy hologram flickered to life. The image was distorted, but the voice was unmistakably Varelian. I don't have long, it said. My name is Kayla Threx. Former commander, Imperial Fleet. I have information. You are not wrong. Marin blinked. A Threx? Same bloodline as Vale? The message continued. Project Stellar Vale was real. Hidden under layers of black funding. Target humanity. Justification, accelerated threat projection. I can provide proof. Meet me outside the asteroid ring near Telner Drift. Bring no escorts. The message ended. Rao frowned. Could be a trap. It could be a witness, Elara replied. Marin folded her arms. You really think a Varelian military defector would expose their chancellor? Elara tapped the glass. They might if they still believe in the Concord's principles, and see them being buried. 6 hours later, Elara stood alone on the edge of the observation deck again, watching Talcaratha's twin suns rotate in eerie synchrony. She didn't sleep. Couldn't. Everything was happening fast, too fast. And yet not fast enough. Earth survivors were scattered across colonies, confused and terrified. The media channels barely dared show the orbital footage. Panic threatened to ignite in every human system. And here she was, trading words in a marble chamber, trying to outmaneuver a serpent in Diplomat's clothing. She clenched her fists behind her back. We either find the truth, she murmured to the stars, or we become the cautionary tale they use for centuries. The next morning, the assembly reconvened for initial committee formation. Elara sat across from Vale again. Ambassador, he said, voice smooth. May I extend my condolences directly this time? Loss sharpens the soul, does it not? She stared at him, reading every nuance in his eyes. You want us to lash out, she said. You want us to strike first so you can justify the second wave. He smiled thinly. I want peace. But peace has requirements. Balance. Patience. Perspective. She leaned forward. Peace doesn't begin with planetary annihilation. No. It begins with understanding. Something your kind often confuses with retribution. Before she could reply, the speaker returned. The investigation committee is formed. Representatives from the Tellans, Thernari, Valyakari, and Sol Alliance will begin data review within the hour. All parties will submit their findings. And all delegates are required to remain within the assembly system until conclusions are reached. The meeting ended. Elara turned to leave. Vale's voice followed her like a blade pressed to her back. If humanity hopes to survive this century, Ambassador, it would do well to embrace humility. She didn't turn around. Funny, she said. That's the same thing we told the last empire that tried to burn us. Back aboard her ship, Elara prepared for the meeting at Telner Drift. One ship. No escorts. No official backup. She turned to Marin. If this is a trap, Marin said, you won't get a second chance. Elara nodded. Then I'll make this one count. The asteroid field around Telner Drift was dead quiet. Embassy 1's auxiliary scout vessel, the Grey Mark, skimmed low across a broken belt of shattered stone and frozen debris. No escorts. No signal beacons. Just drifting silence and the long shadow of betrayal looming over every system ping. Ambassador Elara Miles sat in the pilot's chair, helmet sealed, pulse steady. She watched the NAV readouts flicker as a faint transponder signal lit up, unregistered, but matching the same signature from the message. I see you, she whispered. A small, aging Varelian skiff uncloaked a few kilometers ahead, its hull scarred and dark. A single docking ring extended. She approached cautiously and latched on. A hiss of equalized pressure greeted her as the hatch opened. Inside, the air was heavy with recycled oxygen and old secrets. Waiting near the center was a Varelian in a dark gray coat, his scales dulled, his eyes shadowed by exhaustion and regret. You're Kayla Threx, Elara said. He gave a curt nod. Former High Commander. Now, traitor, I suppose? You called us. I should have done it before the strikes. Elara stepped closer. Why didn't you? Because I believed him. Vale said Earth was unstable. That your species was growing too quickly, too chaotically. That it was better to strike now, with precision, than risk a galactic conflict later. And now? Kayla looked her in the eye. Now I've seen the aftermath. I watched the surveillance feeds. I heard the screams. And I realized it wasn't strategy. It was extermination. He turned and accessed a locked panel. A small drive slid out. This is everything. Stellar Vale wasn't just approved, it was designed, funded, and ordered by Vale himself. The official objective, preemptive suppression of emerging threats. Your world was the first. Elara took the drive, her fingers tightening around it. Was? There were others on the list. Not yet green-lit. But make no mistake, Earth was just the beginning. She stared at him. Why are you giving me this? Because the Concord deserves truth. Even if it comes from a coward. A silence passed between them. Go, Kayla said. The moment this data goes public, I'm dead anyway. Elara hesitated. You could testify. Stand before the assembly. He shook his head. They'd never let me speak. Vale controls too many channels. But you still have a voice. Use it. Back aboard Embassy 1, Marin ran the data through triple authentication layers. Verified, she said. Fleet command chain logs. Funding documents. Internal Varelian memos. Even real-time targeting approvals with biometric confirmation, Vale's own neural signature. Elara didn't speak. She watched the screen, stone-faced. Send it, she said. Broadcast to every delegate in the Concord. Live. Now? Yes. No more behind-the-scenes diplomacy. No more stalling. The galaxy watches. Let them see. The Concord assembly roared like a fractured storm. The moment the data was released, every channel lit up. Delegates rose from their platforms, shouting in dozens of languages. Emergency protocols activated. Guards moved in, surrounding the Varelian delegation as murmurs turned to outrage. Vale Threx stood calm at the center, robes pristine, eyes cold. He raised a hand. This is a fabrication. The speaker turned to him. Chancellor, the documents carry your seal. Your neural imprint confirms their authenticity. Planted, Vale said smoothly. The human delegation has grown desperate. We all grieve for Earth, but we cannot let vengeance cloud the skies. This is war propaganda, nothing more. Elara stepped forward, voice cutting through the chamber. No. This is what war looks like before it begins. You thought we would hide. That we'd fracture. That we'd kneel. She faced the crowd, turning slowly so every pair of eyes met hers. We did none of those things. We gathered our dead. We held our breath. And then we looked up. And now we speak. She pointed to Vale. That is not a leader. That is a butcher. Vale's facade cracked for the briefest second, an imperceptible twitch at the corner of his eye. Delegate Arnasha rose. I motion for full tribunal proceedings against Chancellor Vale Threx, under Concord Article 17, War Crimes and Violations of Sovereignty. Dozens of voices joined. Some shouted. Some whispered. The speaker's gavel struck once, hard. Motion acknowledged. Tribunal formation begins immediately. Chancellor Vale Threx will be placed under temporary detainment pending inquiry. Verilian guards hesitated. Vale stepped back slowly, then turned, face blank, hands folded. This is a mistake, he said. Elara answered without moving. You made it the moment you signed that order. Hours later, back on Embassy 1, silence returned. General Rao, Marin, and Elara sat in the dim war room, watching the replayed footage of Vale's reaction. He didn't panic, Rao said. He's not done. No, Elara agreed. He planned for exposure. Maybe not this soon, but it was inevitable. Marin looked up. There are still factions loyal to him. Whole fleets. He might go underground. He might strike again. Elara nodded. Which means this isn't over. But for the first time, we've drawn blood. Not with weapons. With truth. She stood, looking once more toward the stars. He tried to erase us. But all he did was carve our name into history. It started with silence. Then came the storm. In the hours after the tribunal vote, the Concord Central Network lit up with unrest. Delegations once quiet now roared. The veil of order had torn, revealing a rot buried deep beneath the marble of diplomacy. And in the center of it stood a human, calm, scarred, unbroken. Ambassador Elara Miles watched the feeds from Embassy 1, eyes locked on the swirling chaos. Verilian warships were pulling back from neutral borders. Protests ignited in half a dozen systems. Smaller races, the ones the Empire had leaned on for centuries, were rising, emboldened. Movement in the core, General Rao said. Half of Vale's loyal fleets are refusing orders. Fragmenting. They were never loyal, Elara said. Just afraid. Now they see blood. Marin entered, holding a datapad. The tribunal begins in 2 days. But we've got a problem. Elara turned. Go on. A ship left Talcara's space. No beacon. Signature suggests it's the Shroud Ascendant. Vale's personal courier. Rao swore. He's fleeing. Elara was already moving. Alert Concord security. Send data to all listening posts. Even if they catch him, Marin said, he'll try to spin this. Claim the tribunal was rigged. The attack justified. That's why we don't wait for the tribunal, Elara said. We finish this now. Not with more words. With proof the whole galaxy can't ignore. She opened a channel to the assembly. The Concord floor was quieter now. Shock had dulled the usual fire. Delegates sat in the dim glow of their fields, waiting. Elara stood before them once more, not with anger this time, but with clarity. When Earth burned, she said, we were told to grieve quietly. To let the assembly find the truth in time. We did. And in that silence we were mocked, cornered, told to be patient while our dead turned cold. Her voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. Now you know the truth. But knowledge alone means nothing if we do not act. She activated the feed. Dozens of clips streamed across the chamber, images of Earth's ruins, orbital strikes, stolen Verilian orders, intercepted fleet transmissions. Evidence laid bare. This wasn't a misfire. Not an accident. It was policy. It was signed, funded, approved. And it will happen again unless we make it clear, no power is above the assembly. Not even the oldest empire among us. Delegate Arnasha stood. What do you propose? Elara turned to the speaker. Immediate revocation of Verilian sovereignty under Article 9. Disbanding of their war council. Free elections in their systems, supervised by Concord observers. And recognition of humanity as a sovereign High Council member with veto authority. The chamber rippled. That's war, someone muttered. No, Elara said. That's what peace looks like when built on justice. The speaker glanced at the room. The motion will be reviewed and voted upon tomorrow. That night, Veilthrex vanished. His ship never made it to its supposed destination. No distress beacon. No trace. Some believed he was dead, assassinated by his own to stop further disgrace. Others said he escaped to the edge systems, building shadows into something darker. Elara believed neither. Men like Veil didn't die easily. They waited. But his empire, that was dying. Within days, the Concord stripped the Varelian regime of its privileges. Their fleets were grounded. Colonies declared independence. The grip that once held the stars with silent control shattered under the weight of truth. And Earth began to rise. Weeks later, Elara stepped onto soil again. Real soil. She stood in the ruined streets of what had once been New London. Charred steel, glass, and twisted roads stretched for miles. Drones buzzed overhead, rebuilding in silence. The sky was gray, but clean. The air stung of ash and memory. She knelt beside the remnants of a garden wall, blackened and broken. Gently, she dug into the dirt and placed a small object into the soil, a seedling, bright green, carefully nurtured aboard Embassy 1. It was my niece's, she said, voice soft. Marin stood behind her. It'll grow. I know. They remained there for a moment, surrounded by silence that no longer screamed. The Concord sent aid. Thousands of ships. Supplies. Volunteers from across species who had seen what Earth endured and chose not to look away. The galaxy had changed. The illusion of stability had been shattered, and from it came something harder, but stronger, honest, scarred peace. Elara declined offers to lead humanity's new expanded role. Instead, she chose something smaller, helping rebuild, guiding the young diplomats rising from the ashes. She didn't need a title. She had done what needed to be done. Before she left Talcareth, the speaker had approached her with a final message from the assembly. You were called emotional, unstable, unready. But you came here with nothing but facts, resolve, and the fire of the fallen. You reminded us all what truth sounds like when it's not afraid. On her last night aboard Embassy 1, Elara stood once more at the observation deck. Earth was whole again in the distance. Not healed, but alive. Marin joined her, carrying 2 cups of tea. We did it, she said. No, Elara replied. We just told the truth. The rest was up to them. Marin raised her cup. To the fire we carry. Elara nodded and clinked hers gently. To never letting it go out. They drank in silence as the stars turned, no longer cold. Just watching.